All right, hey, powerhouses, and welcome back to the podcast. And in today's episode, it's a special one because I'm actually going to be sharing a part of my story that has shaped me in ways that I never expected, and that was being a single mom. So if you've ever been in a season where you felt alone or overwhelmed or unsure about how to move forward, I want you to know that God sees you. You need to know that God sees you and that He is with you, and He has a plan even when you can't see it yet. Okay. So I became a mom at 18. I got married young, and by 23, I was a single mom, basically pretty broke and trying to figure out how to provide for my daughter. And I had no clue how I was going to make it. But looking back, I can see that every struggle was preparing me for what God was calling me to do. So today, I want to share some of the biggest lessons that single motherhood taught me about faith, about leadership, about business, and honestly about trusting God through every storm, because the storms keep coming and we have to be prepared for those and know that He is with us through every season of our life. Okay, so let's kind of jump into it. Rapid fire. Number one is that resilience comes from trusting God. That was one of my biggest lessons. And survival mode mentality is a thing. So when you're a single mom, quitting isn't an option. There's no one else to rely on other than Him. And there were nights where I cried wondering how I was going to make it. But every time that I wanted to give up, God reminded me this. He did not bring me this far to leave me. Okay. And if you have felt that way, I have been there with you. His word says in Isaiah 41:10, do not fear. There are literally 365 times where God has said, do not fear in the Bible. So for every single day, you are not to fear. So Isaiah 41:10 says, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. So how does this apply to business? Business is the same way. There will be setbacks in life, setbacks in business. There's going to be failures and moments where you feel like nothing is working. I have been there multiple times over the last 10 years that I have been an entrepreneur working with multiple businesses where it is trial and error, setbacks, going back to the drawing board, feeling like nothing is working. But when you build your business on faith and not fear, you become unshakable. So I'm a visionary, so I love to start things and I will take risks. My husband's actually a little bit of the different side of that, but it's so true that you need to operate in faith, not fear. Fear causes disruption in the growth that God has for you. And I want you to be unshakable. So here's a tip, a faith over fear tip. When things feel overwhelming, replace worry with worship. Put on that worship music, blast it in your car, blast it in your kitchen, and let loose. It drains all of that worry right out of your body. It's a release. So anytime that you're feeling overwhelmed, put on some worship music. Start thinking of the things that God has done for you and thank Him for it. Thank Him for it over and over and over again until that worry is just washed away. Find like your favorite worship songs. I love Raise a Hallelujah. I put that song on over and over and over again, and it just washes away whatever worry that I have. So instead of focusing on the obstacles, focus on the promises of God. Focus on the promises of God. God has plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you a future and a hope. That is a promise. His promise is to prosper you. His promise is to be with you and to never forsake you, to never leave you. Focus on that. So no matter what the storm is, He is there and He does not leave. Number two is God provides. This was a big lesson for me, that there were times where I didn't know what was going to be in my bank account, and there was just enough to get things done that needed to get done. But this is the thing. He provides, but He also makes you resourceful. So in Genesis, it says to be fruitful and multiply, not just with having babies, but to multiply the things in this world. You have dominion over everything, and He wants you to be resourceful. He wants to work with you. And so that was huge for me. The reality of having limited resources, guys, you need to kind of be in that area sometimes where you have limited resources. That way you have the ability to think and find ways to get things done and to be creative in those. So I didn't have a financial safety net. I was lucky enough that I did find a business mentor, which was really, really important, a support person. Okay. I had a couple of them, multiple, over the last 10 years. I didn't have a lot of money to invest in all the things that I thought that I needed to succeed, but I did have faith. I did have faith. And I had a mindset that said, if God gave me this vision, he will provide the way. Like I told you, I'm vision oriented. I have a lot of ideas. And sometimes my husband's like, slow your roll here a little bit. Okay. But if he gives you the vision and you feel that spirit in you rise up, that excitement and that passion, that conviction, work with him on it. Be so aligned with him. He will provide the way. And the only way that happens is through faith. If you lack faith, that's the end of it. You have to have the faith. You have to trust him. So how does this apply to business? Okay, too many people wait for perfect conditions to start. I have done that. Even though I love to start all new things, I have been in situations where I want everything to be perfect before I get started, but you're missing the point. You're missing the opportunities, because if you wait for all the conditions to start, you don't learn the lessons, gain the wisdom or the experiences that are going to make you the best version of you for the things that you want in your life. You cannot wait for perfect conditions. There's failure for a reason. You need it to shape you, to learn from. And sometimes you have to lick your wounds, but it's worth licking those wounds. I promise you. God doesn't call the equipped. God does not call the equipped. He equips the called. So if you have an idea, a vision, a dream, start moving. God is going to meet you in your obedience. That is one of the lessons that I've had to learn in 2024, was to strip myself and be so aligned with him and be obedient, because he rewards obedience. So even if you don't know all the steps, God will never give you all the steps at once up front, but he will meet you in that first step. If you say, God, I trust you. I'm listening to you. I'm leaning into you. I'm drawing close to you. I'm drawing near to you. He will meet you there, and he will whisper ever so softly in your ear, the next step and the next step and the next person, the next step. So here's a biblical truth for you. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, trust in the Lord. Trust in the Lord, not with half your heart, not with a quarter of your heart. Trust in the Lord with your whole heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Don't think about the things that you think about, how it should be done, or what makes sense in your head, because his ways are higher than our ways. He's doing 1,000 different things at once. And he's like, girl, you ain't going to understand all this right now. So don't lean on your understanding, lean on me. So trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, and in all your ways, submit to him. Submit to him. He knows best. Walk under his umbrella of knowing best, and he will make your path straight. He will make your path straight. He's not going to steer you wrong. The next lesson that I learned is time is a gift. Time is a gift. If you are raising kids, you know this. Blink of an eye. My daughter now is 15 years old. It is insane. Time is a gift. Use it wisely. So as a single mom, I didn't have the luxury of wasted time. I had to be intentional with every minute of my day. There were specific days that my daughter was with her dad, so I could have more uninterrupted work time. I had to use that time. There were other days where we had our dinners together, we had our nights together, and that was intentional time with her. And then on my weekends, I wanted my weekends. And so you have to be intentional with your time, okay? We don't have the luxury of wasting time, because that's just how it is. I had to be intentional with every minute of my day, working to take care of my daughter, growing my faith, making sure that I had intentional time with Jesus in the morning, in the evening, whenever you can get it in. You have to make that time intentional to grow your faith. It strengthens you. It's a muscle that's needed. So how does this apply to business? So God gives us time as a gift, and how we steward it determines how much we trust him and how much he trusts us with. So wants us to be good stewards, not only of our resources financially, but he wants us to be good stewards of our time. Ephesians 5:16 says, make the most of every opportunity. So if you have an opportunity in front of you right now, ask yourself, are you making the most of this opportunity? Because the days are evil. The days are evil, girls. Okay. That means that you got to cut out the distractions. You got to focus on what truly matters. And you have to use your time for the things that glorify him and grow your calling. Because that's what we're called to do, is to glorify him in all things that we do, and to walk in our callings, walk in alignment for the things that he has for us and what he has purpose for us. And when we do that, there's a peace that comes over us that surpasses all understanding. So how do we steward our time? Here's a tip. Every morning, pray and ask God, what do you want me to focus on today? Drown out the noise, the chaos, all of the different things that are running through your mind that should be on your to-do list, that you're thinking, I have to put this on my to-do list, right? I have been there. What do you want me to focus on today, God? Who do you want me to focus on today? Where are you working? I ask myself this question every single day, because sometimes we can get so aligned with what we're doing and not what he's doing, or asking him to help us where we're at versus being obedient to where he's working. So what do you want me to focus on today, God? Where are you working? And let him guide your priorities. Next lesson is about selling. Selling is serving. Selling is serving. So we have a motto, which is to make a friend, find the need, and fill a need. So in sales, that's what you're doing. You're connecting with people. So you're making friends. And a lot of times people don't know what their needs are. They know that something's missing, but they can't put their finger on it, what it is. And your job is to help them uncover that, find that need. And then the byproduct is to fill it. That's sales. That's the way that I look at sales. So when I started in sales, it wasn't just about making money. It was about surviving. Seriously, I was in commission only as a single mom. It was about surviving. But something shifted when I realized that sales isn't about getting, it's about serving. So how does this apply to business? So Jesus, in my opinion, was the greatest communicator of all time. The greatest communicator of all time. He knew how to connect with people, understood them, meet their needs, and share a message that transformed their lives. Like, I think about this and it makes me emotional, because this is the part of Jesus that this is why I love Jesus, is because he knows how to connect with people. And this is why I have a love for sales and knowing how to meet people's needs where they are and share a message with them that transforms lives. That's what sales really is. It's listening, it's understanding, and it's providing a solution. Colossians 3:23 says, whatever you do, work it with all your heart as if you're working for the Lord and not for human masters. This is something that I live by. I have it written down on my vision board. It has been a verse that he has ingrained on my heart. Again, that is Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work it with your whole heart as if you're working for the Lord, because you are. You are. You're not doing this for human masters. And a lot of times if we get burnt out or run down, or we're in hustle mode or grind mode, and we're not having our priorities aligned correctly, that's when we get into trouble. And if we're doing things sometimes, even in parts of business, I'm like, I don't want to be doing this. This part of this business sucks. But whatever you do it with your whole heart as if you're working for the Lord. And then he provides. He provides results. He provides wisdom. He provides the solutions. And that's just a way to keep yourself grounded, especially if you're in sales or a business owner. Whatever you're doing, work wholeheartedly as if you're working for the Lord and not for human masters, because you really are. Here's a mindset tip. Stop seeing sales as selling and start seeing it as helping. When you shift your perspective, success follows. Here's another lesson that I learned, and this was big. Leadership begins in the home. Leadership begins in the home. And I became a leader before I was ready. So raising a child on my own for the time period that I was a single mom, I had to step into a leadership role leading our little family of 2 before I felt qualified. I did not feel qualified. But God doesn't wait for us to feel ready. Now, in a perfect world, I wouldn't have been in that situation as a single mom. In a perfect world, none of us are, but we're in a fallen world. And so he calls us in the middle of the storm. He calls us in the middle of the storm, but he holds our hand and he equips us. And that's because God is such a loving God that even though these things are happening, he meets us right in the middle of that storm. He holds our hands and says, we're going to do this together. If you trust me, I will help you. If you trust me, I will mold you. If you trust me, I will develop you. And I will do more than you can ever think or imagine. And I get chills just thinking about that because God has done in my life more than I could ever think or imagine. And sometimes I don't feel deserving. But I know that he loves me and I know that he loves you. So how does this apply to business? Leadership is not about titles. It is about influence. It's influencing people to make good decisions. It's influencing people to feel good about themselves. It's influencing people to feel that they can overcome whatever obstacle is in front of them. That's what leadership is. It's the ability to influence. If you can lead a family through challenges, you can lead a business, you can lead a team, and you can lead an entire movement. Isn't that fun? Here's a biblical truth. Joshua 1:9, and I live by this too. Have I not commanded you? Again, he's not asking us. He is commanding us to be strong and courageous. That means, like, if he's commanding it, obviously we struggle with being strong. We struggle with being courageous. He knows that. He says, but I command you to be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. How often do we get so discouraged because things aren't going our way right when we want it to, or our business isn't taking off in this season here, or it's taking longer in this area over here, or I feel like I'm failing and so I'm feeling discouraged and I'm not feeling courageous. I have the imposter syndrome. I don't feel strong. But he says, I am commanding you. I am commanding you to be strong and courageous and do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged because the Lord your God will be with you. He will be with you wherever you go. It is a promise. It is a promise. Here's a leadership tip. Start leading where you are. Start leading where you are. Be the example. Be the example and trust that God will develop your leadership as you grow. Some of you are waiting to step into a leadership role because you don't feel like you're good enough or you're not ready or you don't have the experience or the skills. But he develops you. He equips you. And if you don't start, you don't get what? The wisdom, the experience, the understanding. So you have to take that first step, that leap, and he will meet you there and he will mold and he will develop and he will refine. There are people that need you right now as you are. And all of your flaws and all of your good things that God has already given you, they need you right now to help transform where they're going. So always remember that if you feel the call of leadership, start where you are because there are people that God has right in front of you that you can influence. Another tip, your mindset determines your success. You've probably heard this all over YouTube, right? Mindset, mindset, mindset. But your mindset determines your success. These were the moments where doubt crept in. There were definite moments where doubt crept in. But I had to remind myself that my thoughts align with either faith or fear. Those are only two options. And the more that we think about fear, the more synapses go in that direction, and then everything is fearful. So we have to be intentional about thinking in a faith-based manner, right? We have to renew our mind every single day, put good things into our brains, put the word into our hearts, put the word into our minds, always putting something positive and faith-filled and bringing Jesus into our daily thoughts. So how does this apply to business? Romans 12:2 says, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is another one to live by, to write on your heart, to put on your vision board so you see it and remind yourself daily, do not conform to the pattern of this world. It is easy to do. You are salt and light, even in the business world, even in the sales world, even as a single mama. But be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Your business, your finances, and your future start in your mind. I need you to hear that again. Your business, your finances, and your future all start in your mind. That's where it all begins. It is the battleground. So here's a faith-based mindset tip for you. Speak life over your business. Be intentional about speaking life over your business. It's not going to come by happenstance. You have to speak life. There's power in your words. There's power in the tongue and what you speak out loud. So I want you to say out loud with me, even if you're driving and someone thinks you're talking to yourself or singing, doesn't matter. Say out loud, God has called me, He has equipped me, and He is guiding my steps. Let's say it again. God has called me, God has equipped me, and He is guiding my steps. So guys, just to recap, I want you to meditate on these things. I want you to know and meditate on that resilience comes from trusting God. It comes from trusting God, knowing that He is in your corner and He is with you, walking every step, every unknown step, He is there. It builds your muscle of resilience. You can depend on Him. God provides. He will always provide for your needs, but we must be resourceful. You have to be aligned with Him, be in relationship with Him, and He makes you resourceful. He has given you every ability to provide. Steward your time wisely. Steward your time wisely. It's a gift. Know that selling is serving. Meditate on this. Selling is serving, and do it with integrity. Make friends, find the needs, and fill those needs. Meditate on this, that leadership begins in the home and it flows into your business. The way that you lead your home, the way that you lead your family is the way that you will lead your business. They're not separate. You cannot make them separate. Meditate on that. A faith-filled mindset will shape your success. Faith over fear, baby. Faith over fear. So if you're in a tough season right now, trust that God is preparing you for greater. If you are feeling the fire, if you know that you're being refined in the fire, know that every challenge is shaping you for the purpose that He has for your life. He is not done. He won't leave you. He won't forsake you. He has a purpose for your life, plans to prosper you, plans for good. Meditate on that. You are not alone. God is walking with you, and everything He promised will come to pass. But catch this, in His perfect timing. In His perfect timing. Not in our timing. Not in our timing. If we would do things completely different. But God is always on time. And sometimes that's a little bit frustrating, right? Like, could you not be early? Like just a little bit early, that would make me feel so good. Like my anxiety would go down a little bit if you would just be 5 minutes early, God, right? No. God is walking with you, and everything He promised will come to pass in His perfect timing. So, guys, if this episode encouraged you, take a screenshot. Share it on Instagram and tag me at Laura Musisco. Let's spread the faith and business wisdom together, because there are so many mamas, so many women, so many sales girls and leaders that need to have this reminder. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and leave a review. It will help this message reach more faith-driven women. So until next time, stay strong, stay faithful, and keep building. I love you. XOXO.